How's it going, everyone? My name is Drew Daniels, and I am a MD PhD student who's doing his PhD in Marcus Bosenberg's lab in immunology. And I'm here today to walk you through a molten chocolate molten chocolate lava cake recipe. So the one thing I kind of recommend that you guys do ahead of time, if you're watching this ahead of time, hopefully you are, is making the ganache of the molten chocolate cake. So the way I like to do this is, this is 2 ounces of chocolate. I just wanted to show you basically the way I get the chocolate ready for this is just kind of run a knife through this, like very simply. But this way you can basically like quickly melt it in whatever liquid you're gonna put it in. So I have done this over here for the ganache. And then I've got a 1/4 cup of heavy cream that I heated over medium heat elsewhere in my actual kitchen. And I'm just gonna add that in here. And I don't know if y'all can see this, but basically this is just a soupy, goopy stuff. But for steps like this, having the chocolate really finely minced helps a lot to make it melt faster and just saves you some time. All right, so now this is thoroughly mixed. You can see it's basically nice and smooth. There's no chunks left in it. You want to break all those up. If you have any issues, like I did, with your cream getting too cold as I was talking for too long, you can just basically put this in like a warm water bath. Like I just filled another bowl up with some warmer water, submerge this, and then mix it around. That'll melt it. I'm gonna go throw this into the fridge to chill for a bit, and then we'll pick this back up. Okay, so our ganache is sitting in the fridge right now. In the meantime, we're gonna get our ramekins ready. So basically these are just any oven-safe sort of vessels that you have. These ones are like the classic 6-ounce ramekins or something. I have done this in like larger bowls, and you have just a bigger molten chocolate cake to share with more people or to devour yourself. The first thing we're gonna do is take a bit of butter, and we're basically gonna rub the inside of these with butter. You really wanna coat the walls on the bottom because this is gonna be used to try and stick the sugar to. I mentioned the recipe using demerara sugar. Basically, this just kind of looks, this is demerara sugar. It just looks kind of like coarse brown sugar, the kind of stuff you get at like Starbucks for the fancy like coffee. So my recommendation is either get demerara sugar or just go to Starbucks and grab a couple extra packets of sugar. I'm just gonna put some of this in our first ramekin, swirl it around, turn it around the corners. What we're trying to do is just get this to stick to the sides where the butter is as much as we can, and then dump it into the next one. And you can kind of see maybe that the walls that are gonna be coated, and so is the bottom. This is gonna give us like a really awesome crackly crust on the outside of the molten chocolate cake that just like contrasts the softness and like the kind of airiness of the cake really nicely. And I think this is like a super awesome part of this recipe that I totally didn't come up with. All right, so now we've got our prepared ramekins, and we can move on to actually making the filling. All right, so now we're on to making the actual chocolate cake. We're gonna set up what's called a double boiler, which is basically a medium saucepan that is simmering with about 1 inch of water in it, and then a heat-proof bowl that goes over that. So you can use either aluminum or glass. Aluminum transfers the heat pretty quickly, so I prefer to use that. Glass makes it harder to burn whatever you're putting in there, although in this case that's not gonna be a huge issue. So we're gonna set this up, and then I've got the chocolate that we chopped up, the 5 ounces of chopped bittersweet chocolate. I'm gonna add that in. And then the butter. And I'm gonna grab a spatula and we're gonna get to stirring. Okay, so things are kind of in a place that we want right now. So you can see this is basically totally melted. So I'm going to retire this Fire Marshal's field day of a oven setup, and we will move on to the next step. All right, so now we're gonna continue preparing the actual cake batter. So we've got 3 eggs here, and 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, and we are just going to beat these together. If you have an electric hand mixer, great time to use it. I have one, but I'm going to try and do this as if I don't, so we know how everyone else will do it. People actually don't have one. So basically the goal here is just to mix this together until it about triples in volume. So we're starting here, we want it to be kind of like a little fluffy, a little airier, just kind of feel lighter. And that's gonna take a while, so settle in.
Three hours later.
Okay, so that was miserable. But we are at a place where it looks really airy. There are bubbles in it. I would say it's about tripled in size. I'm lightheaded, my arms are sore, and we're going to give a splash of vanilla extract, mix that in, and then we will fold in the butter chocolate mix, and then we're ready to make these cakes. Whew. If you have an electric mixer, definitely use that, but it is possible to do without that. And you will see just in doing this, there is a point that you'll kind of reach where the eggs just tend to hold the air a little better and start to fluff, and that's just what you're looking for when you know you're kind of getting close done. So, I don't know, you can kind of see there, like all the air bubbles are actually getting held in it. It's a little bit frothier. So this is what I'm gonna call our done point. All right, so now I've got our different components here. So here we have our butter bittersweet chocolate mix that we're gonna fold into our batter here, and then we have our ganache that we prepped before. So the ganache is set. What I like to do is basically just take a knife and cut this into 4, since I'm gonna make 4 different molten chocolate cakes. And then I'll just peel those out, make little balls, and plop them in with each of these. I'll set that aside for now. And then we are going to fold this in. So what that means is like we're gonna really gently try and work this in. Our goal is to basically not lose any of the air that we just put into this as we work this in. And I am just going to work all of this in. And at first it's really not gonna wanna do it. You can see here, I don't know if you guys can, it's kind of just in strips, and you'll see eventually it'll just start to like give in and work into this actual batter. All right, you can see it's starting to finally go there. As I mix it, we're getting more of that chocolate mixed in. Okay, and I'm just gonna add a pinch of salt to this. And then we are set. I'm gonna put that aside just for a couple minutes now, and we're gonna scrape out our ganache. All right, so they come out usually pretty easily, sort of. I'm just gonna take one of these and mold it into a bit of a ball here. This is just gonna be like the puck that sits in the middle of the cake. So now we're gonna do assembly. So basically what we're gonna do here is divide about half of this batter across these 4 ramekins. I like to do a little bit of extra because basically when you think about it, we're gonna take these cakes and invert them when we actually serve them. And to make sure that this ganache isn't really sitting right at the surface of it, I like to put like 2/3 of what's gonna be the total cake in each ramekin in first. So I'll put a little bit extra now, drop the ganache in, and then put a little more in. Use another stir. So now I'm gonna put the little ganache balls that I've made in, and I try to make them a little bit flatter and wider so they're kind of like not sitting too tall in each of these. And now we're gonna top all of these guys off. So I've got my oven preheated to 425, and the really awesome thing about this recipe is these cakes stay super nicely in the freezer, sorry. Just take it out of the freezer, let it sit for like a half hour, and then just throw it right in the oven at 425 again. So I'm gonna throw one of these guys into the oven now at 425, probably about 13 to 15 minutes, basically until when I jiggle them, they have a little bit of wiggle to them, but look a little more set. And then the rest of these are gonna get wrapped into the freezer. So this is just at the oven. I'm gonna try and show you guys what I mean by, if I like shake it, you can see there's a little bit of a jiggle to it. Yeah, right there. So this had awesome rise to it. I'm super pumped about this. Also means mixing my hand totally works. So what we're gonna do is work a knife around the outside of this. And this is really hot, so just be careful. All right, just make sure you can come around nice and smooth, just like that. All right, here comes our moment of truth. Oh, ho, ho, ho. And that would be the molten chocolate. So like my favorite way to do this is just have like a dollop of good vanilla ice cream with it, maybe a couple berries. You will be very happy. This is a very good dessert and is about to drip off the plate. Maybe put it in the center of your plate, unlike I did. Yeah, I mean, enjoy it. I have 3 more in the freezer. I'm delighted. And enjoy the rest of the recruitment weekend. Actually, no, we're not ready to stop talking about this yet. That crust, all that on the outside, that's the sugar. I mean, this is just like a killer recipe and super easy. Okay, now we're done. Enjoy your dessert.